And welcome once again to another episode of Funny Talk with Mangelli and Max. I'm Tom Mangelli.
He's Tom Mangelli. I'm Doug Max.
He's Doug Max, and our special guest today is the funny comic, Carlos Vera. How you doing, Carlos?
I'm good. Hey,
I'm not sure that's Carlos. Wait a minute. I don't think that's Carlos, Tom.
Oh no, it's Carlos, all right. Should I wear a mask? I heard some things about the show.
You're gonna need more than a mask, buddy.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I think what you should have heard about the show was that you need cotton balls in your nose, so it doesn't smell so bad for you.
Oh, no,
it's good seeing you, Carlos. You look good.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You look good too.
Thank you.
You both look good.
Thanks.
I don't look better than Tom? Wait a minute. Yeah, go back. We both look good.
Tom looks thin.
Everybody's saying I look thinner. I gained weight.
You know why? Because Zoom takes like 3 pounds off of you.
Does it have like a compression element?
I thought Zoom just zooms away.
For our listening audience, especially to our friends in Ethiopia, that was a joke about Zoom taking away 3 pounds. Tom is huge. You wouldn't notice 3 pounds on Tom, I don't think. Right? Maybe if you lost it from your wrist, I go, Tom, well, what's the matter? Your wrist looks kind of thin. There, I might notice 3 pounds, right?
Yeah, 3 pounds is like a Q-tip for me.
That's just shaving for you, right? That's just shaving.
Tom,
Yes.
We could make Q-tips out of your fat and sell them as like, I don't know, discount chicken wings or something, right?
Okay.
This
is taking a weird turn.
It is. We should probably stop, regroup, and thank our sponsor, Jack Hoffman of J. Irwin Productions. If you want a comedy show, Jack knows every comedian who's worth knowing in New Jersey, pretty much, and can organize a wonderful show for you in a COVID-safe way. Somehow, write to Jack at jirwinproductions.com.
Amen. Have you ever worked with Jack, Carlos?
No, I think I've met him once. I could be wrong. I thought I'd met him in the Bud Abbott or Lou Costello.
Yes.
Yes, that he was there.
It was Bud Abbott's birthday celebration at the Patterson Museum.
There you go. That's where I met him.
Yep. I forgot you were there. Yeah.
Yep, I was there.
So Carlos.
Yep.
So we got to introduce you a little bit.
Sure.
Carlos is a comedian and a good friend. Kind of. You know, you're a good friend among comedians who are typically horrible, miserable, desperately.
Oh, stop.
You know.
You're not that bad, right, Doug.
I'm a friend to all comedians, except maybe 3, but that's it.
And the initials are.
Oh, okay. If I take a J. Know immediately.
So I remember meeting you at Rockin' Joe's, and one of my favorite experiences early on with you was a Puerto Rican parade fundraiser.
That's right.
Somewhere, I forget where it was. It was a wonderful audience.
That was in Newark, New Jersey.
It was a wonderful audience. It was like 300 people, and I'm like, I was a little intimidated. It was early on in my career, but I got laughs.
You had a good set, actually.
Thank you, actually.
As opposed to all the other times.
That's right. You got to do more Puerto Rican shows.
Listen, I'm all ready. I'm very political, and you and I'm sure we're aligned in politics, but I'm all ready to support the cause, Carlos.
That's right. I'm in there. Like swimwear.
Now, Carlos, we did a show for hurricane relief in Puerto Rico, right?
That's right. Mangelli, this is right after you won the Meadowlands contest.
That's right. Yep.
That's right.
Which is a swampland for those people that aren't familiar.
And I proved that it's not a good idea to get a swelled head over your successes, because I bombed like the Hindenburg on that show.
You
Did
really
he,
didn't bomb.
Carlos?
Not bomb. You didn't bomb.
No?
No, you did not. I saw there was some guy who bombed there about the year before.
Yeah.
It's a friend of mine, and he did so bad. I felt bad for him, but you did good. Actually, everybody that came up did well. That was the day that I couldn't even speak,
That's right.
so I didn't
What
even
happened?
perform on my own show.
That's
Oh,
right.
you
What
should do
happened?
my mute comedian set. I'll give it to you sometime.
I
Yeah, I've
should.
got an entire mute comedian set, Carlos.
You do.
Pretty much. And I've only done it like 12 minutes, but I can go
Okay.
up to I could go an hour. So basically
Wow.
the principle is you just don't say anything for whatever period of time you need.
He does
Lots
his
of
best
work.
pantomiming.
He
Yeah,
does his
you
best
might
work
look
that way.
around awkward, make a gesture or two, eat an egg roll.
All right.
Oh, I love egg rolls. You're gonna make me go out for Chinese after the show. You realize?
Tom, you listen, you
love
want to do something good for the show, you
So-
should get an egg roll now.
They know me. They know me in China, not as Tom Mangelli, but Tom and Jerry.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't laugh at that. Although you might not have ever done that on our show, Tom. I've heard it 1,000 times, but you may never have done that. It's always good. Whenever you bring up anything Asian, it's always good to remind people of, so they watch their diction. And
Well, speaking of Chinese food, you notice there's a cat over my shoulder.
number
There you go.
17.
Nice.
I got him at Iggy's Curiosity Shop, Bill and Nancy Aronson in Midland Park, because it looks like my cat, Joey Bag of Donuts. And when Joey ticks me off, I chase him around with chopsticks, and I go, I'm going to get you number 24. He doesn't like that.
Awful.
I thought 17 was funnier, Tom. It's all
That
over
was
the color.
awful.
Anyway,
Listen,
so
Excuse, well, I just have to get this off my chest. I thought I did horrible at that show for the
No.
Puerto Rican, and I noticed that now most of the audience was
They were
Hispanic.
Puerto Rican,
Puerto
Hispanic.
you
Rican.
can say the word Puerto Rican. That's not
And
bigoted.
don't,
I
and
know.
don't whisper it. Don't whisper like they're Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican.
Here.
They were.
No, but I noticed
I
that.
don't want to offend you. I don't want to offend you, but there were a lot of Puerto Ricans in that room.
I don't think.
What were
I
they
don't
doing
think
there?
I don't think my comedy went over as well with the demographic. I think that's a lot of I do a lot of puns, plays on words, and I think it lost something in the translation. Maybe I don't know.
That's possible because there was a lot of Spanish speaking ones in there, guys in there, or people that weren't really. They were there just for the cause, but not for the comedy. But the people that were for the comedy, they got it.
Yep.
Except for the half of the crowd that don't speak English. So
I think when I did that fundraiser for you, I think you translated a joke that I have for me. And I'm not sure if I did it in Spanish, but the joke was I was on a date and things were going great. So I made my move. I took off my shirt. She took off her shirt. And I think you translated, I took off my pants. She took off her pants. I took off my pantalone.
I said it with an accent.
Yeah, she took off.
True.
But I think they appreciated that even though I clearly did not speak Spanish, I was pandering.
Yeah, they do, and they like people who self-deprecate themselves, like they like that kind of comedy.
Okay, I definitely do that.
I didn't know I was self-deprecating. I thought I was just petting the dog.
Well,
that was a good crowd. I think we both had a kind of a great. I hate when they give messages come through our phone. They both had pretty good crowds. I think the first one you were on, Max, that was a big crowd. It was actually close to 400.
400. Wow.
400. And I think you saw the comedians just line up because I asked like a certain amount, and you saw how many showed up.
I didn't know what I was doing at the time. But the funny story for me there, so I think I'm in comedy about 1.5 years, 2 years. And Seymour Swan was on that show that night.
He was.
And one way or another, I think it happened before the show. When Seymour, when I was on Seymour's show, it was one of my early shows, and when he was hosting a new talent at Scotty's, but whatever, he was the host, and I went up after him, and I wiped the microphone with an antibacterial wipe. I might have then covered it with a napkin because I'm OCD and I wanted to protect myself germs. For that year and a half until I had seen him the night of your fundraiser, he thought I was a bigot. He thought I didn't want to touch a microphone if a black person had touched a microphone. I'm like, no,
Really?
I'm OCD. I'm like, and that was part of my bit anyway. He thought
I thought it was part of your bit. I didn't know it because you were OCD.
I'm not that badly OCD.
Everybody
laughed.
Who does that?
I'm not that OCD. It is part of my act. But Seymour thought I did it just because he was black. Yeah. And so fortunately, so I'm glad I did that because I got to find out that somebody thought I was a bigot. If he had read my Facebook, he would know
That's right.
I'm like the president, the furthest thing from a bigot.
That's right. That's right. You know, he actually did really well that show too, and you followed him. So after.
I can't remember when, but it was back in the time when I hated following funny comedians.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm in a year and a half, 2 years, whatever, you know. But I got over that. I learned if they're funny before you, you ride the wave. If they're horrible before you, your audience is grateful. You know, you make your own wave. So
that was my first year in comedy.
Really?
Yeah, I think you're you're in the class or two behind Tom and I.
How did you start? Yeah. You started at Scotty's the comedy class.
I started Scotty's under Chip's class. Okay. And I was in there with who was in the class with me that's still doing it?
Nobody.
No one except
nobody's in the class with you. Come on.
It was there's one, what's her name? Oh my God, the Indian girl, the lady who's married to the doctor.
Ritu?
Yeah, she was in there and she left really early. Like she was there like for a few weeks, and then I think she never showed up again.
Oh wow!
Wait a minute, I remember hearing a story.
She just tried to brush up on writing.
Did Watson say something? I think Watson said something nasty to her.
Oh, that's what it was.
I think was Watson also kind of a teacher. There was one class where he was like a teacher, but only came for 1 or 2 classes, and
yeah, he was like the Simon Cowell of the of that program.
Yeah.
That was just his thing.
Well, he's got other things too. We won't talk about them because this is a family-friendly show, and people don't need to know about the kind of things he likes to sniff and stuff. We won't.
Speaking of family, you know, his mom died, Judy.
Yes, I heard recently.
I did not know that. I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't know?
I did not know that.
I opened for him, was it last week, the week before, it's at Scotty's. He was headlining, and he was telling me how, you know, she wasn't doing well and this and that. The next day or that Monday, she died. So
that was like a week and a half ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And speaking of dying, of not being well, and Tom, you wanted to pay your observances.
Yes, I wanted to shout out to, he's still alive as far as I know, but he's not doing well. They found out he has cancer. I don't know if you're familiar with the comedian Bob Nelson. He was
I know Bob Nelson.
He was big in the 80s and 90s.
Yes. He wasn't. Didn't he perform at Scotty's? He's
been there.
I opened for him at Scotty's once.
Okay, I remember.
Yeah, and just before that, I opened for him at Parks Casino in Pennsylvania. But he's got cancer, and from the post, the Facebook post, it doesn't sound promising. But I'm pulling for him. If anybody has the time and the inclination to say a prayer for Bob to help pull him through.
I hope he does well, man.
Yeah, he's the nicest guy.
We lost a few comedians in the last year.
Yeah.
You know,
unfortunately, Jeff Rat Fat Bastard Parami.
Yep.
I love Jeff. That was a big loss. I don't know if you knew Dennis Ross.
Yes, I performed with Dennis Ross.
Okay, another big guy. Seems like the big comedians are kicking the bucket. I got to watch it here.
Yep. But they're all still funny though.
Do you have any
nothing to worry
buckets
about.
near you? Do you have any buckets near you, Tom? Move them.
The only buckets I have has fried chicken in it.
I doubt
it was very sad. After a show, he kicked a bucket of fried chicken, tripped, and was found with a chicken leg stuffed in his mouth.
Yep. Still better than Elvis.
So, Carlos, tell us some funny stuff. What have you been doing good? What have you been doing for fun to make yourself happy?
Well, I haven't been. I've been talking to people through Zoom. I've been asked to do some Zoom shows, which I have not accepted yet because I don't work. I can't. I'm not motivated by performing for myself because it seems like I am performing for myself. So I can't do it. I got to see a crowd.
Well, can I tell you something? You're kind of performing on Zoom right now. You're not being very funny. Nothing critical, nothing personal. You know I love you.
You want some slapstick or something? What do you want?
Anyway, no, we've had a couple other comics on the show, and they're like, I don't want to do a Zoom show. I'm like, I hate to tell you this.
I saw the Gerald show.
How do I tell him he's on Zoom without making him feel like an idiot? How do I find words for that?
You know, I saw your Gerald show. He just hijacked the damn show.
Oh, that was great. I loved it.
Oh, he wouldn't stop. He made Doug feel so uncomfortable throughout the entire show.
I love him, but it's been a common theme of how we'll never have him back again.
I'm telling you, I remember it. I'm like, oh my God, there goes Gerald. Listen, I've worked with Gerald in that Sasson and Egbo show for about 2 years, and man, he loves the camera.
He's a troll.
He doesn't even hear it. Everything goes silent around him. He has blinders on, and it's just him and the camera.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Well, there's more going on in there, but I won't speculate.
Now, are you still doing the Neckbone show?
Nope. I actually stopped. Deuce Martinez asked for me to restart it. So we just have to find what happened was when I started my new job, I had to lose my time slot, which is Wednesdays at 8, because I had to work. And now I have another job, which I don't have to worry about. But I lost my time slot. Now I have to figure out another time slot where I can get another comedian to show up, and he won't miss days like Gerald did. Yeah. You know what I mean? Huh. Gerald called out a lot.
And I remember Deuce. I remember him very fondly. I only met him one time. I forget. Oh, I was on was it Randy Simon Lupo, I think?
There
was one other. But I love doing that show. But the music, Deuce has such a wonderful spirit, and his music is like really, pumps up the energy.
Oh yeah.
And it's it felt good. Yeah.
Yeah, Deuce was a breaker. It's one of the top breakers back in the day. He was in the Dynamic Breakers. They've been in movies, and they've been stunt doubles for a bunch of movies about breaking. And you'll see him all over. He's in all over movies and stuff.
I think you're holding your hand over your mic.
I am. Can you hear me?
Right, now it's better. Yeah,
that's better.
I did have it over my mic.
Yeah. I was a stunt double in that movie Dumbo Drop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Doug, was you a stunt double?
They dropped him out of a helicopter from like 50 feet just so they could film the bottom. He kept on bouncing. It was like for what, an hour and a half? Like a Super Bowl.
See, I wouldn't think you bounced. I think you more like splat. If you fell. You know?
That's
As
more
God
like
is my witness, I thought Manjoli could fly. Does that, you know WKRP, Carlos? That's a reference from the turkey episode.
I remember when they thought they were doing a good thing by throwing free turkeys, and it was like a massacre. They would just kill it. It was awful to see all the blood.
Oh, the humanity.
That's what I remember. WKRP is
the cranberry sauce.
That's right. Oh my God! I remember
That was one of the funniest. That was one of the funniest episodes I can remember from my youth.
You know, that brings up
my favorite.
a question I actually wrote down that I wanted to ask you. Now, growing up Puerto Rican, do you celebrate the different holidays differently than white folk?
Of course.
Like Thanksgiving, for instance. What do you guys do for Thanksgiving?
The thing about Thanksgiving, we still have that turkey. We still have turkey.
Okay.
Because we've been Americanized since 1917. So, because that's when we first became citizens. So we had turkey, but we also had pork shoulder, which is called pernil. And Thanksgiving is the first day of Christmas for us.
Oh, okay.
Crazy. Christmas starts the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday, and then we celebrate Christmas until January 6th.
Okay.
So we party all the time.
Yeah, I never knew that. I didn't realize.
Do you have other month-long drinking celebrations like does Easter go on through July 4th and you call it something? You call it drinking quarter.
Okay.
No, just Christmas is the only one we celebrate.
I don't think of Puerto Ricans as heavily drinking. Didn't mean to cast any. What are you known for?
Yeah, you did.
Are you good for drinking?
Actually, on the holidays we have a drink that we have, like either the day after Thanksgiving until January. It's called coquito, and that is coconut milk because our coconut cream, rum. It's like eggnog actually with eggs and everything, but it's eggnog but much better because eggnog tastes like crap, but this thing tastes amazing. Mwah! I'm gonna make it when they send you a damn bottle.
Listen, I want to ask you though, very, very seriously, because it hasn't been in the news at all. The hurricane devastated Puerto Rico. It dropped out of the news very quickly.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
Not a word. We obviously have other things, on our mind now too.
Yeah.
But how has been the support you've received from the government?
Well, this is what happened. And for example, my sisters collected over 250,000 tons of supplies and medical,
Wow.
And actually, yeah, my sister Lisa paid for it to be flown to Puerto Rico. That's like almost like $25,000 to fly it. And when she went over there, FEMA made us fly it back to the United States.
What?
So
she lost that money.
There was a report of bottled water sitting because it wasn't distributed.
Exactly.
And it went bad because of how it was stored. Water.
Yes, it went bad. Yep, they found warehouses full of water, and people were just dying of thirst in Puerto Rico. But it's stuff like that. All the red tape. This stuff wouldn't happen in any other state in the union.
Now,
go ahead.
What's your thoughts about making Puerto Rico a state? I mean, they've been talking about it for years.
I'll be honest with you, I'm against it. And there's several reasons why. It's got nothing to do with me being anti-American because I was born here. But I think if you look at Hawaii, for example, their culture is almost like a sideshow for Americans to come and, they put the lei and they start dancing. It's really, they're doing it for the tourists. And in Puerto Rico, for example, we've been a democracy since we were released from Spain, and we're so Americanized in Puerto Rico. Yeah, my father was the opposite. He was like country and he was all about Puerto Rico. But I think it takes away from your culture, and not for nothing. I think we tend to be a little different from even a lot of nationalities in the United States, because if you ask somebody what they are, a Caucasian, they're gonna say they're American, right? there's some people who are real Italians are proud of being Italian, right? That's okay. People say, "Oh, I'm Italian," right? Oh, yeah, Irish. Yeah, that's great. But when you say in Puerto Rico, you're American, you know. Like, but we don't. We say Puerto Rican, no
See,
matter
if
what.
somebody comes up to me and goes, "What are you?" I just look around and I go, "Oh, there's a black guy."
All right.
I'll tell you
But yeah.
one comment I did at that show that we were talking about that didn't go over too well. I made a comment saying that I'm not even Puerto Rican.
That was pretty good. Oh man, that's actually
Anyway,
pretty good.
is the country back?
Actually, it's 3/4 back, and it has a lot to do with the people on the island and all the help they got from individual groups in the United States. So there was a lot of groups who dedicated so much time
Independently, but not the government. I hope Puerto Ricans understood clearly why it was so hard to get aid. And I think our President Trump, did an outstanding job of explaining to the Puerto Ricans
but the
why
water.
it was so hard for them to get aid. No, I actually, it was such a beautiful, simple explanation. I memorized it. He said it's because Puerto Rico is an island surrounded by water.
That's right.
Water, ocean water.
That's
right.
right.
And then he went on to blab about like you can't drive a truck there. Like, people don't think of things like that. How, people aren't thinking, hey, I can't drive a truck to Puerto Rico.
Just get the aid. Listen, in Puerto Rico, we've been fighting for the United States since 1917. The only reason they made us the citizens were to fight in World War I. They wanted bodies. So, but when it comes down to
our country has used so many people, over Indians, Native, or Native Americans.
Yep. That's right. Are they still around? You barely see them.
I visited where they got moved to at one point when we were on a tour of the Southwest.
Yep.
Really, really sad. Really sad. There's beautiful land if you like desert and rock and heat and nothing for miles and miles. But they live, by and large, very desperately.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear there a lot of and no help because I guess they don't want to bring it to light. A lot of people what they're going through.
Yeah, let's take it out of the history books with all the other bad things we've done.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
I actually feel guilty watching F Troop now.
I gotta watch F Troop. I haven't seen that since I was a child.
You know who was on F Troop, and most people don't realize?
Larry
the actor's name was John Banner. He played Sergeant Schultz on Hogan's Heroes.
Really?
Oh, he was?
Yeah, he played like a slovenly soldier on F Troop.
Really? I knew nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember that.
Most people don't. It was before he became famous with the Hogan's Heroes.
I was always shocked that my father liked watching Hogan's Heroes because although he wasn't in a POW camp, he was a person. He was a slave laborer of the Nazis. Not a good experience, but he loved.
One of the actors there. One of the actor, I think the one that plays the French person, was a prisoner. He actually had the numbers tattooed to his arm.
Well, and they were all Jewish practically.
Yeah. Yep.
Even Colonel Klink was Jewish. Schultz was Jewish. Almost the whole cast. Buck Kaulitzer, whatever his name.
So I guess that's why they did the show to it's almost like making fun of them, I would think.
Well,
right?
yeah. Do you ever see The Producers? Mel Brooks, Springtime for Hitler. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Trump is probably going to spawn some interesting. He already has. The cartoon president is rather.
That's right.
Rather harsh. But Trump.
There's gonna be some more stuff when he's
Carlos,
out of office.
can you sing? Can you sing? Can you play
Can
up
I
music?
sing?
Can you
I am
sing?
a singer.
You are?
Yeah, I used to sing. That's how I met my wife. I used to sing, and she was a backup dancer. And I did shows, and I think I had male dance. My partners were dancers, and one of the guys broke his leg while during a show on stage. So I needed to get new dancers for the next few shows. So I auditioned 2 girls, and one of them happened to be my wife today.
That's awesome. That's an amazing story.
Wow.
Yep.
You know, I
So
used
what
to
kind
be
of singing? Oh,
I used to be a backup dancer, but when I backed up, I had to beep.
don't laugh at that, Carlos. I got another show with him.
Oh man.
You know, one of my students when I taught in Patterson asked me, Mr. Mangelli, do you break dance? And I said, when I dance, everything breaks.
Okay, I thought that was you were going to say I break something else, but okay.
Yeah, man.
So what kind of singing did you do?
Latin freestyle, they call it. It was Latin freestyle. I'm not sure. It was something in the 80s, a type of hard, big beat club music. And it was created by Puerto Ricans in New York and in Florida. And it became big around the 80s.
So you might not know this, but I'm like really into that. I probably know every one of those songs. You remember any of the songs? I'll sing along with you.
What do you know? You know any George Lamond or any Coro?
Oh yeah, both of them. I have all their albums.
Yeah. They only
Come
have
on,
like
Carlos.
2.
In a one. Come on.
Let me hear you, and I'll sing back up to you. How about that?
Okay. La donna mobile qual più mal vento mutata cento e di pensiero. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think I heard that on Tom and Jerry once.
Oh, it's Italian.
That's Italian.
Or I could do my cat calling.
How's that? Is the cat calling because it sounds like a cat in heat?
Well, no, because the cats come running when he starts singing like that.
Oh, really? that's
another running over a cat story. Tom ended our show last week's show ended with him telling the story of his mother running over like 10 kittens.
Really?
They were trying to keep themselves warm in the engine, and she backs up and she runs. The cats scatter out, but in backing up, she runs them over. They get squashed. Next scene in Tom's story, they're at church. You mind my telling your story? You told it last week, Tom.
Yeah, but I told it well.
Well, you tell it the way it happened.
I told it the way it happened.
So they're in
she
church.
Was late. She was late for church. She got in the car. She backed out. The kittens were on the wheel wells, so she ended up running over like 5 or 6 cats.
Holy crap!
Dead, flat. She's bawling her eyes out, crying, unconsolable. They finally get to church, her and my mother and my brother, and she's finally calmed down. And my brother looks up at her, leans over, and goes, "Meow." And she starts all over again in church, bawling her eyes out. People are looking at her like she's crazy because they didn't,
That's awful, man.
I know.
That shit would affect me for the rest of my life, seeing that.
I know, right?
Oh my God, man.
It was a cat.
You tell that story during the holidays?
Uh-huh.
That is awful.
I know.
I know. So
Thanksgiving.
And it's just 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row. You know what? I think we're going to
wasn't going to bring it up. You brought it up.
No, how did we get to cat calls? Never mind. That was me.
You went from singing to cat calls, and then you told me you said something about running over cats.
Yes,
mom.
Carlos, do you have any strong comedian influences? People that you think you can point to that got you and made you want to go into comedy?
Well,
besides me,
believe it or not, I thought David Letterman was my favorite stand-up comedian. I was really young when he got the late night with David Letterman, but before that, I saw a video of him performing, and I loved it. I thought at the time he was a better stand-up comedian than he was a host of a show, but then he became a better host afterwards. Yeah, right. But he was one of them. I have a lot of influences. Like I thought Patrice O'Neal was one of my favorites comedians. Okay. Greg Girardo, I loved him. And most of my comedians I like are dead, but
so you did it.
Hey, you don't like me. Excuse me. Okay. Okay,
and
I'm putting you on mute. Carlos.
And Doug Max. I forgot to say Doug Max.
Yeah, everybody does. Everybody. Every show we ask the comedians who are your favorite comedians.
True. That's true.
Now,
That's
being
true.
Puerto Rican, what was your take on Freddie Prinze?
Well, as a kid, first of all, when I was a kid, and he was the only one I saw on TV. There was nobody else on TV I can look and say, "Oh, that guy's just like me. He's Puerto Rican." I didn't know he did stand up at that time. I was just a child, but
it was just
later
Chico
on,
man.
Then later on, you got to see a stand up after the show was over, and but recently, as far as 5 or 6 years, YouTube started playing some of his stuff. And you go, man, this guy was ahead of his time, even at that time, you know? And I noticed there was a joke that he made that another comedian used. And I can't remember the joke exactly, but I go, oh my God, I heard this joke before. And Freddie Prinze came up with it before this person did.
Did it have anything to do with opening a Mawa and Wawa?
Oh, stop.
No, that wasn't it. I think it was something about getting a divorce, and he finally was able to have sex again.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That was good. That's actually my favorite
you.
joke. That's actually my favorite Doug Max joke, by the way.
Thank you. I've got to find something funnier.
That's his only joke with a punchline.
True. You got to start the show like that and repeat it again in the end.
I miss doing stand-up, I gotta say. You miss it, Carlos?
I miss it a lot. I've been, it gave me a chance to write a lot of stuff, so, but.
Anything funny? Anything funny or like greeting cards kind of thing?
Well, I think if you see my comedy, it was all about me, right? Like I make fun of myself, really, about where I'm from.
When I'm seeing you, I don't want to hear about anybody else when I'm watching you.
True. But now I think I try to change it. Not much. I still want to keep my personality, but a lot of jokes. I try to throw little jokes here and there. Before mine had a little setup. You know, I'm gonna be more like Mangelli. Just bam, shooting them out like that. Pat.
You're gonna gain 150 pounds.
That's true. I'm gonna be big, huge.
The 14th,
I think I need to do. Comedy. I know I need to build more of Mangelli into my act too. Audiences need different stuff. Yeah, no, I know his act, so it's not a problem. I just don't want to get caught. I'll tell you,
Carlos, you mentioned the rapid fire, but when first of all, I'm of the age that I grew up with Henny Youngman and Rodney Dangerfield, king of the one-liners. So that was ingrained in my personality. But also, when you first start in comedy, you only get like 3 to 5 minutes to do your thing at the microphone. So True. I'm thinking, how can I tell a story and go on, which wasn't my style anyway? You're better off doing the one-liners because at least you get more up at bat, so to speak. You know.
True.
So you're telling me my act is going on and on and on. Is that what you're? I can tell stories and go on and on and
I'm not talking about you specifically, but
hey, you're sleeping in the back.
Category.
I think the toughest thing to do is a 5-minute act. Yeah. It's horrible. It's like torture for me. Like I need at least 15 to 20, and that's when I feel better about myself. But when you have 5, you have to like struggle now what you're gonna use, and like what you want to do, and you feel like you left out. Oh my God! Every time you leave, you go, oh damn it!
Carlos, I don't know. All you need to do is get the laughs. The audience doesn't.
You know what screwed me up once? I did a show for Rich Carucci at that Club Flamingo in South Hackensack. And I had prepared in my head 15 to 20 minutes. And I had some new jokes that I wanted to weave in. Just before I went up, Carucci says into my ear, you have to keep it to 5 minutes. Oh. So now I got 20 minutes of material. I got to do 5 minutes. He gave me like 30 seconds headway. So I went up there like a deer in the headlights going, humana, humana, humana.
That's awful,
Horrible.
man.
Horrible.
You know what's worse?
experience.
I did a show with Doug Max, and that was in I think it was Union, and they told me before walking in, right before performing, that it's a clean show. And then you see children. There's children sitting with the audience. So now not only can I not, I have to watch my language, but the subject matter is just as bad for little kids.
Right.
Kids,
But,
do you like dogs?
Yeah, it was.
Doug does.
I went through it, but I felt awful because some of the subject matter I put it out there. I didn't curse.
But there's an age. If they're below a certain age, you're safe. And if they're older. But I remember one of my favorite impromptu lines that got a joke. In the back of the room was a couple with a baby and a baby. I don't know what you call it anymore, but it was like a 3-month-old baby.
Okay.
And I get up to the front of the room and say, I early, I'm awkward. I'm like, I really don't know what to do. I know my material, but I saw that there was a child in the room, and I don't think it's appropriate. I go, how old is your kid? 3 months. They yell out. I'm like, yeah, my material isn't appropriate for a 3-month-old.
That's right.
Everybody cracked
3
up.
months. I wish they were 3 months, but I think the kids that day in Union, it was that little whole, that little it was that
Rock and
hotel.
Joe's.
I don't know.
Ave.
Yes.
Ave. Yeah.
It was there. First of all, I didn't know. I thought it was an actual place. I didn't know it was going to be like for the residents who lived there, and they had kids there. And it was awful. It was awful. But I know that I went through it, and I guess I made it easier for whoever went after because my subject matter was questionable. I still went through it. I just didn't curse. I didn't curse, but
I tell you, most of my act is clean, and it's partly by design, but also partly because I was a teacher for so many years.
okay.
You couldn't say certain things in front of the kids. It didn't stop me most of the time, but you're not supposed to. I forgot where I was going with this now. Oh, but I feel comfortable with maybe age 16 on. Anything younger than that,
Me too.
It freaks me out.
And that's really where my humor hits that spot. That's the 13 to 16-year-old adolescent boy.
Oh,
let's not talk about your weekends, Doug.
Let's keep it in a laptop, Doug.
I was a substitute teacher in my old town for a while. And I remember one day I had a break between classes, and I went to the office and said, do you mind if I run downtown and put something in the mail? And the principal went off on me. What do you think? We hired you here. If there's an accident, we need you here for safety. What blah, blah, blah. 2 days later, turns out he had child porn on his computer.
Oh,
wow.
I think it had been discovered. He was probably a little tense at the time, knowing that maybe they knew some stuff. Yeah.
Well, when I was teaching in Patterson, the other accounting teacher ended up getting taken away because of he's a pedophile.
You
basically.
can say it, Tom. You can say the
he
same as Puerto Rican.
Whisper
you can say
it.
both of those words.
Whisper just like you say Puerto Rican. Do it like that. Yeah, I actually did a show for teachers. There was a bunch of teachers in there, and normally a joke that did well, other places did not do well with the teachers, and it made me Yeah. I think I said something about that. I was born and raised in Newark. Man, I go, oh, Newark. I remember Barringer High School, and in Barringer High School, I'm not lying, I'm not bragging, but I think I slept with a different girl every day. Different girl. Until I was caught, and I'm not allowed to teach there anymore. So they all get upset. They all get upset. I go, I'm just joking, forget it. I never got caught. And then they didn't like that, man.
No, teachers, generally speaking, are a bunch of Karens. First of all, very uptight, very proper. But,
So, ladies, did you look for good spelling and punctuation in your guy when you found him? I'll put the apostrophe where you like it.
Oh man.
Yeah, the ladies love that. The guys don't laugh so much at that. But
Doug, at your age, you have to worry about dangling participles.
Don't.
Oh man.
So what else? So Carlos, I'm just thinking, you and I go so far back in comedy together that you had a joke about stealing hubcaps back in the day when cars still. I think even when I heard you the first time, you probably said something like, "Do they still have hubcaps?"
Yeah, that's how I. That's
a classic stereotype, right?
And it was a classic. Everybody knew the joke about Puerto Ricans were always that they carried knives and they steal hubcaps.
Yeah,
that was the joke. So I said I'm going to use that. And I tell you right now, the older white gentlemen, like white people, used to laugh like a little too much, right? So I would go. It was something. I said some racist bastard. 2 weeks after buying my house in a white neighborhood, this racist bastard told me to go back to my country. He told me to stop carrying knives and having babies out of wedlock, and stop stealing hubcaps or something like that. I think the joke was. And I said, I'm shocked, I'm shocked because I had no idea that they were still making hubcaps. And and it's funny because that joke is really it was something similar that what's this guy, the comedian from Jewish comedian that Caddyshack 2?
Oh, Jackie Mason.
Jackie Mason. He had a freaking great joke about he visited Puerto Rico. He loves visiting Puerto Rico because he likes visiting his hubcaps once a year or something like that. So I said, I'm gonna my first joke, and that was my first joke. I'm gonna make a hubcap joke, and why how so outdated it is and stuff like that. But that's how I start my set all the time.
Yeah.
Make people feel
can
uncomfortable.
I ask if you've heard sets from people that try to cross party lines and like do humor about Puerto Rico or Latinx or any lines?
I've seen comedians. Most of the time, I haven't seen anything that really insulted me or made me feel bad. But I do find them funny. If it's good structure and if it's funny, I'm gonna find it funny. I haven't heard anyone that really bothered me, unless I heard jokes on Facebook that I thought was not funny. But most conservative comedians say jokes and they really mean it as a statement, and they just disguise it as a joke.
Right.
But
I tend to be the opposite, and people read into it when they really shouldn't.
True. True.
I made a joke. I did a post today, in fact. I says, if it wasn't so disrespectful to a great lady, I think a great Halloween costume this year would be Darth Vader Ginsburg. Now, I don't mean anything by it. I mean, she was a great lady, and not to diminish her accomplishments.
Have you gotten any negative?
The connection I thought was funny,
Have you gotten any negative feedback on that yet?
Not yet. I haven't checked back.
Would you like me to write something?
Sure.
I'm offended. She was a great woman. I said she was a great woman. Well, but you made fun of her.
Now I'm gonna go on Facebook to look for it, and I'm gonna act as if it offended me, and I'm angry as. I just want to see it. Get the ball rolling, man.
All right.
If I normally when I make I don't know if you notice that every meme I put out, I make myself. I never use somebody else's meme, right? I make them myself.
Yeah.
And usually they're like a joke attached to it. But I have a lot of family and friends who are just angry at me all the time because of it. Really? I'm having fun and I'm just trolling, but they get really upset with me.
Now, I used to create memes, but I stopped doing it because I noticed that other comics will tend to steal that line
Yep.
just
And they use
because
it
it's
on
a
the stage.
meme, thinking that it's up for grabs.
Whether
That's
it's
true.
a line
That's
or
true.
not, I don't understand comics putting jokes up. And the other thing I stopped following, there was a Facebook group called Comedians Helping Comedians. And so
Yeah.
people would write up, what are some funny things about washing the car? And it's like, hey, help me write a joke. You know,
Yeah.
That's a flag. If they
they're
if
like
they
all
say,
my jokes, you know, like, hey,
Yep.
I've got this entire joke. I just need a punchline. Something
Well, you
funny.
know,
yeah, I heard a few of my jokes from other people.
yeah.
I
Now,
did.
Doug and I are familiar with Joey Novick. Joey Novick has got a great technique. He'll put up a really bad joke, and he knows other comics are going to chime in with other things to say on the topic. So he's got all the material he wants now on that topic because all these other comics help.
Nice. You let everybody do the work for you.
Exactly.
I like that. I
Really.
like that.
I
I
haven't
always-
had any
all
of
my-
my material stolen in a while. I should probably work harder.
That's why I put a watermark in all my memes. By the way,
Oh, okay.
I do. Like,
Good
have you
idea.
seen? I put this stuff on the neck bone thing. So now, if they use it or push it forward, I can prove that I had the joke first.
Right.
So
Not if
can
I
look at the
use
tape.
Photoshop and take a little sample of the color nearby and go
You know what?
over your logo, your
The
watermark.
old saying though is whoever gets the TV with it first, it's theirs.
That's true.
Because
That
that's
is
what
not
everybody's going to
true.
remember.
I heard that's how one of my jokes was stolen.
Yeah, right.
I was having a drink with a woman after a show at Gotham, and she's like, I'm a big comedy writer. Everybody knows me. And I told her some of my material because it was my 4th show ever. And a couple weeks later, I see it on TV, the premise of it.
Nice.
And it pissed me off. Well, it pissed me off and it pleased me because I thought I was in the right direction. But she said to me, if it's not been on TV, you haven't done it. And if that's the principle that a writer uses to determine whether or not they can take something from another comedian, it's horrible.
Well, look at Amy Schumer. She's famous for that.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of other comics that are famous for stealing.
Yeah, Robin Williams used to go to open mics and take people's sets or premises and jokes and whatever.
And that's what happened to me that night. It was Gotham. I flew too close to the fire too soon, or to the sun.
Well,
I didn't know.
if they know you're from Jersey and the comic's from New York, they think you're never gonna hear it.
Yeah.
Well, and they also heard me, and I'm sure every one of them thought, yeah, and this was this guy's last night.
That's true.
I told the story of how bad that set was the last show, so I'm not going to tell it again, but it was pretty funny. And I got a funny story from it. You know, it was so bad, I got a good story from it. So.
I've had several comics steal my stupid ma wah 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 joke.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's the stupidest joke. It's just a one-liner, but that I know of, 5 other comics stole it.
No one ever stole the little Nazis.
No, I stopped doing that.
I love that one.
I got negative feedback from some.
What's
Jewish
your little
comedians.
Nazis? What was your
Jewish
little
comedians.
Nazis
I won't
joke?
name names, but
Was I one of them?
no.
No. Hey, tell me. I'll tell you if it's offensive or not. I'll be honest.
It
You
was
didn't hear
funny.
about No, it was my whole act about the Hindenburger, and the
Oh.
Nuremberger,
Yeah.
and the diner. The waitresses tied their aprons in little Nazis.
I did a joke about my father's scar on his head, and I was worried that when the scar formed, it was going to be a little swastika.
That's using your head.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
So how's the car, Carlos? Do you still have the
I
white
don't-
car?
I gave it to my stepdad.
Nice.
I was just fed up with it. I bought a truck.
Oh no. Oh, I wanted
Yeah.
to do a BMW valve cover with you someday.
I did. I changed
I know
it
you did.
myself. I did. But
remember that.
it was a nightmare. It was the hardest thing to put back. It was easier taking out, but trying to put it back was awful.
You know why? Because you were supposed to take out another part, probably. You didn't remove the
Most
cabin
likely.
air filter housing.
But I every video I saw always had a problem putting it back in.
Well, let me tell you, I bought a car at IKEA. Never again.
Really?
I had to put the whole thing together myself.
I freaking knew it. I knew that. I knew that was coming.
It came and it went.
Yeah, it went before it came.
That's actually pretty funny though. That you should add to your act if you should. That's a great little.
I'm all
ditty.
filled up with stupid comedy. I need some good comedy.
Oh my Lord.
But you know what? The time went really quickly, isn't it?
It is. But before we go, I want to ask Carlos if he has a favorite joke, either of his own making or of somebody else's.
Let's see. There's so many, dude. There's so many.
Okay, we don't have time for that. You've been listening to Funny Talk with Mangelli and Max and our guest. And then we can
Damn you!
I'm buying you time, Carlos.
No. It's let me see. Okay, I'll give you I'll give you one of mine. Let's see. Which one? Okay, I got this one. This one I just wrote. I just wrote this one. I went to Lowe's the other day and I overheard the salesman tell a customer that the new Samsung washing machine is like the Cadillacs of washing machines. And I go, I mean, is Cadillac still a symbol of luxury? Because if you say Cadillac to me, I envision an old Italian guy on his way to a bocce ball tournament. There you go.
I like it. There's more you can add to it. There's something. I want something after that. I don't know. Maybe not.
No, I could keep going, but I just wrote it. Yeah. It's not even completed. That's just a joke I wanted to.
Oh, Carlos, that's the way I do. That's the way I do all my material.
Yep. Just go from that. Then I go after the old Italians and then Newark Italians and stuff like that.
Are you from Newark? Are you from Newark?
Yeah, born and raised in Newark. I was in Newark when Newark was Italian.
Yeah.
My father was in Newark when Newark was Jewish.
I used to substitute teach down Neck. Lafayette Street, yeah, Lafayette Street School.
Oh, I'm from Barringer High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to grad school in Newark.
Rutgers?
Yeah, Rutgers.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a rough upbringing in my school, very close to where you grew up, Carlos, in Summit.
Yeah. Really, Summit?
The rough streets of Summit.
That's a rough place. That's a rough place, especially when you can't find a bagel anywhere near that place. Summit. I remember Summit.
Is that true? There's some good bagels?
No, they don't allow Jews. Jews are not, technically we're not allowed in Summit, but I signed an affidavit that I'm an atheist and, you know.
Summit. I've always been in Newark, New Jersey. I've seen Newark change from. I lived in every part of Newark. So I lived in the West, which was all black, and then I moved to Bloomfield Avenue, which was mostly Italian at the time, and then it slowly changed from Italian to Puerto Rican, and there was still stubborn Italians who refused to move. They were still there. And the old retired mobster guys are still there, angry, and then it's now changing to more like Central and South American. They pushed us out, but all my friends that I grew up with mostly either Italian or Irish, and I've been writing a screenplay about their lives. So, but for the last 15 years, this is a story.
It must be a long fucking movie.
It's pretty quick. It's hard to shrink it down to like an hour, but it's a story where we all lost our virginity at 11 years old, and we all did.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. And
you don't have any scenes for an old Jewish guy, do you?
I had no Jewish friends when I was a little kid. You know,
I was
there's
never a
only
little
one
kid.
Jewish guy, and we used to call him cousin, and he was like mentally challenged, and he would beat the shit out of people whenever we tell him, hey cousin, that person says something about your mother, and he would just go, he gets angry, and he would beat the living crap out of people.
This was the Jewish guy you knew?
Yeah, from the
That was
neighborhood.
it? Yeah.
His name
Yeah,
was
a lot
Cousin.
of us are like that.
Cousin.
A lot of us are like that. We all have that period, like 11 to 13. You do not want to piss off a Jewish kid.
That's
You know? They'll go off on you.
true.
Once he hits that bar mitzvah age, they turn.
You know, I have it here. I have a cross pin, and I got as a gift, as gifts for my bar mitzvah. I got 3 sets of cross pins. I'm like, do these people know I'm Jewish? It was very confusing to me. As I was 13 years old, I got the, one was a nice gold plated, then the crappy chrome one. But it's like, you came to a bar mitzvah.
Maybe it was just passive aggressiveness. They want to remind you that you killed Jesus.
You know what it was? Back in the day, cross was considered, that was the fine pen, that was the fine American pen, but nobody knew from Mont Blanc,
I went to a bar mitzvah. I used to be a store manager of the Starbucks in Millburn, New Jersey.
Oh.
And I went to a bar mitzvah, and we brought our machines there, Starbucks. I was a store manager, so we brought them in, and we did like frappuccinos for kids, believe it or not.
I thought the story was going to be they had a bar mitzvah in the Starbucks, which would have been like a great story.
They wouldn't let us do it because there'd be a liability, but it would be a liability. Listen, you don't want anybody getting hurt in a bar mitzvah because there's going to be suing around.
Yeah.
And the Lord said, I'd like a grand forte double espresso macchiato caramelato.
Yeah, listen, I remember this bar mitzvah, they hired 2 black guys, rappers, who was not from the streets. They hired them. It was embarrassing because myself looking at them, the kids now thought they were awesome. They were like trying to talk like they were from the streets, and they were rapping and stuff like that and making people dance. And I'm like, these guys, man, these guys are not from the streets. This guy grew up in Millburn. You're
from Millburn, right?
I'm looking at him like, oh, this is embarrassing. But the kids loved it. They loved it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with white kids that they want to be black.
That's what it is. Especially the Jewish ones, like Beastie Boys. Yeah. They're all Jewish. They loved it.
I've only had the desire to be black for like three or 4 years, ever since I discovered the secret of how to turn my skin black.
What's that?
What's the secret?
So you soak steel wool in vinegar overnight and apply it onto oak, and the tannin reacts with that, and it stains the wood and your skin, and it'll last for a few days.
I would love to see you do that. I guarantee you they would not say you're black. They'll say you're from Bangladesh.
Tom knows this. There's only one way I will do this, and that is if I wear a blue sequin pencil dress like Diana Ross. Yeah.
Okay, really?
So when I do this, and I will do it on stage someday before I die, probably it might be the day I die.
Yep.
I'm gonna go, like Flip Wilson was Geraldine, all these,
yep.
And all of them, they just become a woman, but none of them change their race. When I transform myself, and you will not recognize me, you will believe you're in a room with Diana Ross,
but with a flat pancake ass.
No, I was actually.
That's how we know it was you.
I was black twice.
Baby.
I hate to mention this in today's day and age, but I was black twice. One year for Halloween, I was Mr. T, and I had 4 other friends that we went to around New Brunswick, Rutgers as the A team in a van. And another time, I actually won $100 in a costume contest. I was chef from South Park.
Oh,
All right,
with the black,
children. That's
with,
not a
with the
question you
blackface?
With the
Did you have
blackface,
blackface?
everything, my arms.
Oh my God!
There
Bring
was
those
this.
pictures back.
That was the time when they had those disposable cameras,
The
and somebody
Polaroid?
stole the camera. All the pictures are gone. I don't have any evidence.
Oh man!
There's this really hot black chick that was in the audience. It was in a bar, a restaurant, or a hotel bar, and she was trying to pick me up after the show, and she was asking all these questions. How did you get? She thought I was black. She thought I was really black. That's how good the makeup was. But she asked me how I got my stomach that way, and I said lots of Twinkies.
The stomach. You forgot to cover the stomach.
Oh, you think she thought you were black, Tom?
Yeah, she thought I was black.
I don't think she thought you were black.
I swear to God.
Carlos, do you think if he was black, you'd think he was black?
She was also very drunk.
Not if he took out his pants.
And
I was only black from the waist up.
So listen, Carlos, I think we've wasted enough of our audience person's time.
That's what I wanted to do.
Thank you for listening again, Sally.
All right, man. Awesome.
She's very dedicated.
It was great having you on the show. It's always good to see you. We need to get together more. Now, hopefully things will start to break up a little and we can do that.
Definitely.
Definitely. Can you find Carlos, can you find a room in Newark that Tom could perform as Chef the comedian?
I would love that.
And I'll be your protection, Tom. I'll come and protect
that
you.
Would work
I'll be security.
That would probably work where I live now in Mount Olive. They will love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get the Pax Amicus Theater, and we can do it there.
I wouldn't even attempt that now, but I think Doug would make a good Kyle.
Oh, come on. Call it the fat black guy, old Jewish guy, and Puerto Rican show.
Damn. Sounds like a joke from the 70s, right?
It just rolls off the tongue.
That's right.
Yeah, we're going to need another poster to fit that on.
It's true.
Well, listen, before we break, I want to mention again, don't forget Jack at jirwinproductions.com to put together a great comedy show. Jack's great to work with. He works with great comics. He even works with us. But anyway, that's our show for tonight.
Oh, no. In case this airs before I perform as MC at Scotty's on November 20th and 21st. That's it. I'm going to be performing Friday and Saturday night at Scotty's if we're allowed to perform. The regulations in New Jersey might get cut back again.
Who's the headliner? You don't know who the headliner?
I can't imagine anybody funnier than me, though.
And listen, I'm not going if it's just you hosting.
And I'm going
to be a great host. I'm all prepared for it. I've been working at unpreparing myself. I'm not going to do any material. I'm going to talk to the audience.
All crowd work.
All crowd work.
Nice.
Maybe I've been developing some diarrhea humor, but I don't think it's going to be appropriate that night. But it really it rocks with my girlfriend's son. He likes it. He thinks
nice.
Well,
nice.
I'm going to be at Scotty's in December, opening for Uncle Floyd, December 11th and 12th. So,
Uncle Floyd.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's still alive.
It's a matter of opinion, but
Weekends at Bernie's over
there. Carlos, it's been good seeing you. It's been too long. Right. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you again.
All right. Love you guys, man. Take care.
You've been listening to Funny Talk with Mangelli and Max and the wonderful Carlos Vera.
All right. Peace,
Until
people.
Next time.
All right, brother. Take care. Bye.
Bye.